Hi, I'd like to tell you about my Reiki story. My Reiki story really began probably 5 years before I'd even heard the word Reiki. I was managing the RSL Health Club and I did that for 9.5 years. I was working from 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. I was teaching 11 high impact classes of aerobics a week. I was teaching circuit classes, doing gym programs in the gym. I was managing the 2 swimming pools and 6 squash courts and sauna and the whole facility, doing all the advertising and marketing, going to board meetings once a month. And I was also raising a family with 3 small children. So it was really full on and pretty much my life was out of balance. But I had a lot of energy back then, as I do now. And I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, just doing whatever I needed to do. So I went to a fitness convention at Jupiter's Casino with some of my staff. Now, our centre was really big, so we had lots of conventions back then. I had 23 staff and I had over 1,200 members of the centre at the time. So 5 or 6 of us went up to Jupiter's Casino for this huge big convention with about 5,000 people. When I arrived at 4 o'clock, I went downstairs to the cafe and I was having a bowl of soup and I got chatting to this young fellow that was sitting next to me. And it turned out that he was from Switzerland and he and his wife had some schools over there, but his father lived on the Gold Coast and was a marketing guru. So within a few minutes, this boy had given me all this marketing advice. And he also recommended I read, number 1, the Celestine Prophecy, and number 2, the book called Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. Now, the very next morning at the opening address ceremony, the person that gave the address recommended the Celestine Prophecy book for everybody to read. So it was kind of funny. At lunchtime, I got on the monorail and I went over to the shopping centre. I went to the bookshop and that book was just sitting there looking at me. So I bought the book. I got back on the monorail, went back over to the motel, upstairs and rang my husband and I said, gosh, this person told me to get this book. This person told me to get this book and now I've bought it, the Celestine Prophecy. And my husband said, that's interesting because I've got 2 copies of it that people have loaned me. Later, I had a laugh and I said, that book's been trying to make its way to me for a long time. So in the book, it talks about things called synchronicities, which really are coincidences that are more than a coincidence. And when we have synchronicities in our life, it's like when we think of somebody and suddenly they ring us. And it really is just a sign from the universe that you're moving in the right direction for your journey. So, interestingly enough, 5 years later, after I'd read the book, and I just thought it was a beautiful fairy story. About 5 years later, teaching all those aerobic classes, my knees were absolutely stuffed. They were swollen for 3 years, and I had what I was told was chondromalacia patella, iliotibial band syndrome, inflamed fat pads, and patella tendonitis. And so the surgeon said, there's a 20% chance we'll fix your knees. Forget it, you'll never exercise again. You can't even go for walks. Now, that just blew my mind because I was not one of those people that was going to sit down and take it lightly. So I left that job after I blew the whistle on someone dipping into the till, incidentally. But I left that job and I took my kids to the bookshelf one day, to the bookshop, and a Reiki book fell out from the bookshelf. I looked through the book and I went, oh my God, I read the back cover and I said, this is what they were talking about in the Celestine Prophecy. When the man in the book sprained his ankle, the girl put her hands on, her hands heated up and his pain went away and he could walk. And I thought, physician, heal thyself. No one else can fix me. They said 20% chance to fix my knees. Patella tendonitis, incidentally, is cracking under the patellas. And I thought, I've got nothing to lose and I'm not working anywhere now. I'm going to go and do it. So I took my daughter with me and we ended up, I read that book from cover to cover. I bought a magazine, a Nature and Health magazine, and it had an ad for Reiki in Byron Bay with a lady named Zeta Michaels. So I took Sarah with me and we went to Zeta's house And we walked in and there were 3 other people there. And I said, I'm Carol, this is Sarah, we're from Dubbo. This man said, my name's Mark and I'm from Sydney, but my mother was born in Dubbo. I went, oh, that's a coincidence, that's a synchronicity. The next lady, she said, my name is Sue and I'm from Byron Bay and my mother was born in Dubbo. And the other lady had another synchronicity that was different. But I just felt in my bones, I'm at the right place. This is where I'm meant to be. I'm meant to be doing this workshop. So I did my level 1 and then Zeta said, everybody you can leave. Carol, you need to stay. You need to do your level 2. Walk on the beach on Wednesday, come back on Thursday and Friday. And that's exactly what I did. So I walked and I just took in the beauty of Byron Bay, and on Thursday and Friday I came back and I did my level 2 with another lady. And on the way home on the plane I felt this heat rising up my back, which I later found was Kundalini rising. Now Kundalini energy is like the Indians, the yogis, the Indian yogis talk about coiled energy at the base of the spine around that root chakra and rising up and piercing all the chakras or energy centers on its way up to the brain for enlightenment. However, with all of my years of teaching classes, I also had a problem in the middle part of my back. I had a scoliosis and I had a lot of pain there, which I'd had for years. So while we're sitting on the plane, I'm looking at Sarah and I'm saying, gosh, this is really bizarre. My seat is really hot. Maybe they heated the seats. Is your seat hot? My back is on fire. And she just laughed at me and she kept saying, oh, you're off with the fairies, Mum. You're off with the fairies. And we did have a bit of a chuckle about it. However, when I got home, that heat had stayed in my back for 5 hours. And after that time, the spine problem was gone. Now, I got home and I put my feet up on my coffee table and I just put my hands on my knees for 20 minutes. Then I went to bed. And when I woke up the next morning, the pain and swelling was gone after 3 years. Previously, I had these little fat pads out each side were swollen, but it was just completely gone. And I do remember going, oh my God, this is not my imagination. This is real. From that moment on, my whole life changed. 3 weeks later, I started doing Reiki treatments on people. My intuition sharpened. I remember doing treatments on one lady, and her name was Jenny, and I would keep getting these visions. And one time it was like an X, and I said to her, this is what I saw, and I think that for you is you're at a crossroads in your life. And she said, yep, definitely. And another time I saw this long road, and it was golden on each end, but it was black in the middle. And I said, for me, that represents you had a really good time. You're going through some stuck stuff, some difficult stuff, but there's good times coming. And she said, I drew that today at work. I'm a teacher and I remember doodling it. So we kind of find we get all this information that can also come through as well. My other beautiful friend, Kenise, came and saw me several years into my doing treatments on people. And Kenise had endometriosis. And when I did a treatment on her, I remember using my mind and sending it into her fallopian tubes and imagining little pipe cleaners cleaning out her ovaries. And I was doing a mental emotional treatment with my hands over her eyes. Now, funnily enough, actually one hand under her head and one hand on her forehead. At the end of, halfway through, Kenise opened her eyes and looked at me and then closed them back down again. And at the end of the session, I said, why did you open your eyes and look at me? And she said, it felt like you had your hands inside my stomach and you were wringing out my ovaries. And it was just really painful, but I had to open my eyes to see where your hands were because I knew they were on my forehead. And of course, I have so many Reiki stories, which I will share with you over the years, and I'll have all my stories, or quite a few of them, up on my website as well for those that want to learn a little bit more or understand the whole journey. But Reiki has been a foundation for me since 1998 when I did my level 1 and 2 with Zeta, and 1999 I went up to Broken Hill and did my master's training with Marilyn Bretherick. And after I did my training, 3 weeks later I was doing treatments from level 1 and 2, 3 weeks after I did my master's training, I was teaching workshops. Now I have probably 800 students now, and they're just people that have been drawn to Reiki. Reiki has been the most amazing thing in my life, and it set me on the healing path, not only for myself but for those in my world. I've used Reiki when I've had breast cancer twice, and I've come through that. First time I had a lump, and that Reiki gave me a different understanding that I was, I allowed myself to get breast cancer so I could get some time off work without feeling guilty. But breasts, of course, are about nurturing the self rather than nurturing everybody else and putting them first. So that was a big wake-up call that's mirrored through my life. I also 2 years after the first sort of breast cancer, got bone cancer, and I did Reiki, self-hypnosis and meditation, cleaned up my diet, alkalized my system, and took vitamins, and I got rid of that bone cancer myself with no other treatment, no chemo, no radiation. And probably 2014, I had breast cancer again. I've had a double mastectomy and reconstruction using stomach fat. So it was a cut from one side to the other. It was like a tummy tuck, but they took kind of this much out, and I couldn't stand up straight for 3 months. However, the amazing thing was that operation was a 10.5-hour operation with 7 surgeons, and the only painkillers I had was Panadol, because I managed it myself, knowing the power of the mind and knowing the power of energy and Reiki. And they did say they've never had anybody heal as fast as I did. While I was at the hospital, I also ended up doing hypnosis on one of the psych students to teach him how it worked, and so he could get rid of his anxiety he'd had for his whole life. And I also helped the cleaning lady quit smoking. So what I know is all the skills I've amassed over the years, from Reiki to hypnotherapy to kinetic shift, touch for health kinesiology, theta healing, Yi Dao, neurostress relief, neuro-linguistic programming, all of the things that I've learnt, they're all about integration. I use everything, and with one client, I'm not just using one thing. It depends what they come in for, but if they need something else, that's what we're going to use. However, Reiki was the thing that really opened my mind to miracles. And after Reiki, I realized that we don't need to focus on probabilities. We need to focus on what is possible, possibilities. And as we start to open our mind to possibilities, the universe brings us things in alignment with our vibration. So I hope you've enjoyed my little story. I've got lots of other stories about energy and vibration, about different Reiki stories, about hypnotherapy stories, and how these mind-body modalities have been able to help change people's lives and heal their lifelong problems, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual. So I hope you enjoyed the journey. I hope you enjoy your journey, and I hope you've enjoyed my story. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Namaste, and thank you so much for listening.